Welcome to the latest edition of How You Going, sharing stories with Tom. Today we've got a gentleman that I've known for a few years now, actually, going back probably even before I started my work with Empower Golf, but really got to know Glenn closely through my work with Empower Golf. As you know, if you've listened to anything that we've done so far, this is just all about me chatting with a few people I know, sharing a few stories, really uncovering a central theme around being proud of who you are and sharing their stories about their life and where they've been. So we like to start off every chat with breaking the stigma and breaking the tradition of the great Aussie saying of how you going, and actually bring it back and ask it as a question. So Glenn, how you going?
Mate, I'm very well, thank you, Tom, and thank you for having me on. We've spoken prior to this, and I think it's a fantastic initiative that you're doing. That a lot of people will benefit from, not only us as individuals, but the greater community. So
I appreciate that.
Well done.
I appreciate that. But mate, it is all about, like you said, benefiting the community and things like that. So we've had a bit of a chat before, and you know about a little bit about my journey and why I started heading into the light. You've been there with me for a couple of challenges. You've seen that, and this is my next sort of venture where I want to encourage people to share their story. Everybody out there's got a story, and you should be proud of who you are and share that story with people. So thanks for coming along and sharing it. And
mate, appreciate it.
Awesome. That almost sounded like a question, but there you go. So that's all good. So Glenn Paul, who are you, mate? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Mate, I've got a few different caps on these days. So I guess the most important part of who I am, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son. I'm a family man, first and foremost, and then beyond that, I'm a professional golfer, brand and sponsorship expert, a mentor, a coach, speaker. I wear a few different hats these days, but that each of those roles allow me to kind of give back and do something different along similar lines in different areas.
Yeah, cool. And I'm definitely going to dig down a little bit more on that. But to start off with, we're going to go back. We're going to take you back to, Glenn Paul. Where'd you grow up? Like, where'd you go to high school per se?
So from Sydney, born and bred in Sydney, 1984. So I'm getting on. It's back around when the dinosaurs were probably just on near
I've still
extinction.
got 2 years on you, so don't even worry about that.
It feels it, and honestly, I feel like I was born in about 1924 some days. But grew up in Sydney. Went to Holsworthy High School, so out southwestern Sydney,
Mm-hmm.
and I played golf, played so many other sports growing up, and made the move to Perth in 2011. It was my now wife that I wouldn't say forced me across here, but was my decision to move across here. So I guess the short story of how we met. She was in Sydney on a Kentucky catch up with some friends. I was out, a few alcoholic beverages under my belt for a mate's birthday party, and she actually approached me at the bar trying to set me up with one of her girlfriends.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I wasn't interested in the girlfriend. I was interested in her, and as you do as a young drunk 20-something-year-old, I think it was at the time, harassed her all night, and eventually got a number, and we spent some time together and did the long distance thing, racked up some frequent flyer miles between Sydney and Perth, and
there you go.
I was playing full time at the time that we met as well, so didn't really have anything holding me down in Sydney, and thought, heck, I'd spend a bit of time in Perth anyway.
Watching this, that you're playing golf at the time, so just clarifying that.
Yes. When I say playing the field, yes, the golf field.
Okay.
So it was. Obviously, I didn't have any ties, and had spent some time playing some tournaments in WA prior to that anyway. And just thought, take the chance. Nothing,
Yeah.
no
Nothing
harm
risk,
in it.
nothing gain sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here we are 9 years later and married and have a 16-month-old and another one due in a couple of months. So
Hang on, what?
yeah.
Oh, wow. There you go. Congratulations.
Yes. Thanks, mate. Yeah, having another boy. So it's
Another boy,
I
look
will.
out.
Yeah, if we have another chat in 6 months' time, I won't have any hair left. I can assure you.
Oh, mate. No, well, the hair's looking quite good today. So I was going to comment on like when you said heaps of hats on, but yeah. So the underlying theme and message that we're trying to get to through these segments and doing this is being proud of you and proud of yourself, and that discovery journey that we all have to go on, and some go through it in high school, some go through it when leaving school. It all adds up. And so you've talked about there like moving into state and that sort of thing, but going back and like looking at high school or all those years out of high school and becoming a golf pro and that sort of thing, like was that always going to be the path that it took you down?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of made a conscious decision that a career as a professional golfer was what I wanted. Sort of year 6, so around about 12
Wow.
years old.
Yeah.
And obviously as a result, especially in high school, making a lot of sacrifices. Not going to parties and missing out on catching up with mates because I'd be away playing a tournament or spending the afternoons practicing and playing. So, I think, and somebody asked me this the other day and my response was that I don't necessarily feel like I sacrificed anything or I missed out on anything, because at the end of the day, I've still achieved what I'd set out to achieve. While my successes as a professional athlete haven't probably been as high as what I would have wanted them to be, or still want them to be for that matter. I don't sort of regret anything that I've done, and I don't necessarily think that the sacrifices that I made in the whole scheme of things were that big of a sacrifice.
Yeah, awesome. And so like going through and then so talking about the stigmas and the mask that people are wearing. I know for me growing up and going through those stages, like, and I was playing rugby and going out and I was the one going to parties and making those mistakes that a lot of people probably think that I shouldn't have done. But again, like it led to me where I am now. But I made a conscious effort to, when I was in public, I was completely different to the person I was at home. And that was more of a safety net for me. So that was, I didn't want anybody else to know the problems and things that I was going through. So like going up like mid-20s, like that time where, and I'll touch on, like you were saying, there was a few times where you haven't hit those highs, like with, and even at the start of your career. Was there any moments there that you can reflect on and think like, yeah, maybe they weren't the best?
Probably not so much in the golf space. And it's funny, like you sort of say that we wear a different mask in public or when we're around friends and in different situations. I think for me, one of the biggest turning point in my life was when my dad died, and he passed away 5 days before my 16th birthday.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Which is tough. Losing a parent at any stage in your life is so bloody difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
And I had my mum and my sister, my younger sister, and my granddad was living with us as well, which was my dad's dad. And for him, he'd lost his son, but not even 6 months earlier, he'd buried his wife as well. So I'd lost.
Wow. Okay.
I think, for me, right up until, and that was sort of the pinnacle for me. I think, leading up to Dad's death, I had a lot of people, a lot of family members that were close to me pass away, and so I felt like I couldn't get close to people, and that if I got close to people, that I would lose them, and that was that same sort of the mask and that facade that I would.
Wow.
I didn't, and I guess that being okay with with distancing myself from the parties and all of that, because I was okay in my own company, and golf gave that to me. I didn't need to be in a team and create those kind of relationships. So I think, and so even from such a young age, I had to assume responsibility, and I was always a leader anyway through school. That it was just this other responsibility, and you kind of just push everything else aside and keep going, and you suppress your own emotions and not quite deal with it really as well as you probably should. So
I get it.
but it's a tough one.
Definitely, mate, definitely, and thanks for sharing that. And look, well, I've known you for all these years, and that's a story that I haven't heard, so thanks for that. And look, without like and flowing on from that, like I went through a similar thing, like not with somebody passing away, but when my dad actually moved to Australia from New Zealand, and I was 11 at the time, and I looked at it as it was something that I did, that I actually forced him away, and my response to that was not letting anybody get in close and surrounding myself with people that I knew wouldn't leave me. And that being said, these people probably weren't the best for my upbringing, and for even later on got into the let's just say the wrong side of the law, and these sort of people, and I wouldn't let anyone get close for that fear again of somebody losing me. And it wasn't until to use that metaphor again, taking off the mask and breaking that feeling with inside that you can actually let people get close. They're not all going to leave. So mate, I appreciate you saying that, and I can definitely relate.
Yeah, no, and look, it's one of those things that I guess over the years, and playing professionally was something that he wanted to see me do as well. So I kind of feel like obviously everything that I've done in my career I think a lot of the driving force is doing it for him as well as doing it for myself, because obviously it was a goal that I wanted to pursue. But it's been almost 15 years now that I've been a professional for that. I've improved as a person, and my position in letting people in and building those relationships. The golf has been the avenue, and the professional golf to a certain degree as well has been that avenue to help me deal with that and get through that as well.
Yep. And I'm glad, like, you're just flowing on to every sort of question that I want to ask now. This is great, and I think we planned it. But like flowing on from that, and like you were that person at well, let's call it high school pretty much, because you're 16 and like you feel like you need to be protector and that almost matriarch of the family. I know matriarch's a female word, but you know what I mean. And then so you're out there, you're playing golf, and then when did that moment of actually going, you know what, I am actually doing this, and I'm doing it for me, but I'm doing it for dad, I'm doing it for my family. Like, can you remember any moments like that?
Yeah, definitely. So it was the 2010 New South Wales PGA Championship, and it was at Wollongong Golf Club. A good mentor of mine, Andrew Dowling, who used to work for the PGA in the academy, we would speak often, and I played poorly, and I guess one of the mental barriers that I always had playing, because and I'm quite open to say that money was a motivating factor for me in playing, not chasing millions of dollars and having that lavish lifestyle, but I didn't come from an elite or a rich family. Like everything that I did, I had to work for to achieve, and I think for me the financial carrot, I guess for want of a better term, dangling in front of you, knowing that, hey, if I had a good week or I had a good tournament, I could set myself and my family up. That was sort of what was that motivating factor. But then the flow on from that was feeling like if you performed poorly, you were letting everybody that supported you down. Your
Yeah.
family and friends, and so I had two horrendous rounds at the PGA New South Wales PGA Champ. Got off the course and gave Andrew a call, and we discussed exactly that. I said, mate, I got past the financial barrier, but it was then that feeling and that thought process of that I was just letting everybody else around me down. And he turned around and he said to me, look, he goes, nobody gives a shit what you do on the golf course. And in my mind, I was kind of envisioning people sitting there, refreshing the leaderboard back when auto refresh leaderboards weren't around, and refreshing the leaderboard and seeing what I'd shot and going, oh, he's just made a triple, or he's just shot 84. What's he doing? Go and get a real job. And Andrew pointed out to me and said, look, all of the people that support you have their own life anyway. They're not sitting there following what you're doing, hole by hole, shot by shot. And I think that the turning point for me, he said to me, how often have you got off the golf course and had messages and voicemails from people saying, that was shit, what are you doing? And criticizing you. And that's, never. Like, you don't ever come off the golf course with your inbox flooded with people giving you stick. Your close mates might do, but that they're just taking the piss. But every single time you play poorly or you have a poor result, the people that are close to you will always say, there's always next time. Like, they're supportive. They've always got messages of support, and they're there to lift you back up. And I think once I realized that, I was able to put everything that's kind of was always weighing me down. I was able to put that aside and just get on with the job.
Awesome. Yeah, I like it. And it's very relevant for what we're talking about now, and in the greater scheme of things, is that whether we're at high school, whether at university, whether we're getting married, like whatever that situation it is in our lifetime. And I've been working on a little slogan around this, which I'm not quite there, but it's all about the pressure that we put on ourselves of what other people think, or what we think other people are thinking, and those stories we create. And whether it be like, I've got to make this putt, or whether it be like, I've got to dress like this, or I've got to get such and such a score on my exams, or whatever it is. Like, when do we become so selfish that we think that everybody else is only thinking about us and they don't have their own problems?
Yeah, exactly right. And it's a vicious cycle too, because it's sort of that anxiety, and you get so caught up in thinking what everybody else thinks of you that you then start to, I guess, behave that certain way or portray yourself that certain way. And then that has the flow-on effect, is that then affects the people around you, and you don't get that emotional response from them that you're expecting, and so it just throws everything back in, and you kind of just keep spiraling and spiraling. It's the human mind and the way we work and the way we perceive things. Funny's not the right term, but it's
very intense. It's perception is reality, and that's why having these chats with real life people talking about real life situations is so important for me. Because when I realized actually that I was suffering or going through depression and really getting down on myself with that, and to be honest, it happened a lot earlier than what I got diagnosed, and I can look back on a lot of events in my life and talk about that. But when I did get diagnosed, and I looked for help, and I looked online, and I looked for articles, and you know what, I just wanted to see a real person was going through the same shit that I was, and someone else had been through and felt like I was feeling, and I couldn't find it. Like, you could read about a world-class athlete breaking your ankle and they never quite got back to where it was, and it was all about the medicinal recovery and everything like that, but there was nothing about, what if this is broken and you can fix it and actually come back. And I think that's what scared the shit out of me so much about depression and mental illness, is that I thought once it was broken, that was it.
Yeah.
And so that's like hearing that and hearing a real story, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now, to actually go, no, you know what, we may perceive that, and we may think that, you know what, this is it, there's no coming back from it. But if we actually stop and actually get those thoughts out, and there is that silver lining, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there's so many people always offer to reach out, or offer to be there for you and say, look, reach out if you need something. And coming back to that perception, it's that, you perceive that they're just saying that just to be saying, just to be doing the right thing, or
Yeah,
seem to be doing
exactly.
the right thing. But 9.5 times out of 10,
Yeah,
those people that actually tell you that, hey, if you need something, just call me. Like, if you need to talk,
yeah,
just call me. They mean it, and they will be there for you when when you call and need that, need somebody to chat to. It's
yeah. And then it's actually getting over that. Well, not getting over that. That's the wrong word, but realizing that probably the one thing that's stopping you from doing that is that perception of yourself, and
yep.
like that's the hardest thing when it comes to whether it's around mental illness or whether it's around taking the step to do something that's out of your comfort zone, and anything really is having that pride in yourself, and that goal and belief that, you know what, you are good enough to actually seek help or do these things that may scare you a little bit. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
definitely.
So like this, talking about mental health and like the inclusion side of it, you a professional golfer has this stigma attached to it. Like when people who don't play golf, they see golf as a rich white man's game. When people who do play golf, they see it as, well, a golf pro's an overpaid person that I could never talk to. And then you talk to a golf pro and they're like, no, I'm not a golf pro, but Tiger Woods is a golf pro. And like there's all these different connotation of what actually a professional golfer is and what comes with it. So in your ideas, or in your life really, what's a golf pro?
A golf pro or any other athlete, for that
Yeah,
matter,
yeah, but
they're just another person.
yeah,
They're just another person. They're like you and I, that have their own struggles and their own battles, and their own beliefs of who they are as an individual as well. And yes, golf pros. There are those, I guess, sort of two levels of the elite tour player and the guy at the club that's giving you golf lessons and selling you Mars bars over the counter and stuff. But the
Mars did
old
not
saying
endorse
goes.
us, by
But
the way. Oh, but if you want to, Mars, hey, good
yeah,
stuff.
if they want to,
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, look, I think it's those memes that were out where it was like my idea of a golf pro, my family's idea of a golf pro, and the reality is selling a sweatshirt or something. That's really, I guess, what it is. The amount of times, and I guess I'll kind of draw on some of the work that I'm doing with the brand builders in mentoring other athletes.
yeah,
I've been fortunate enough to work with athletes in other sports, that are playing for their national team, that have won gold medals at the Paralympics, and I'm just a golf pro that whacks a little white ball around the golf course and gives golf lessons. And obviously there's more to me than just that. But in particular was one of the para athletes, and she won gold in Rio. It would have been Rio. So she won gold in Rio for long jump, and
yeah,
she was blown away by the fact that I was mentoring her, and I'm a professional golfer.
yeah, right.
And
Okay.
and obviously, I've played at an elite level, so
Yep.
I get where that the aura kind of comes from. But then I got more of a kick out of the fact that I was talking to and helping a gold medal winning athlete
Yeah,
from the bloody Olympics. So that for me, it's like there's golf, and playing even the PGA Tour for me is here, and winning gold medal at the Paralympics, it's just next level. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
crazy. So it put it into perspective for me as to, I think if other athletes can perceive just the title of being a golf pro as being so much more than what they do, I think, yes, we are, but like I come back to my initial statement is that we're all just normal people that love a beer and
Yep.
loves hanging out with our family and friends.
Great.
And I think most athletes show that, or the more successful athletes show that there's more to them than just being the best in the world or the best in their country. So.
And I watched, like, the reason why I brought that up, and like it comes back to that mask and that stigma that people put on you and things. But I watched a great doco the other night or on the weekend about Dan Carter. So Dan Carter, probably the best first five rugby player that the world ever seen, played for the All Blacks, and about his journey, and I talked about where he grew up playing rugby and then how it got fast forwarded through everything, and next thing you know, he's in a jockey commercial on the side of a building in Christchurch, and then like going back to actually playing rugby where he started off in Southbridge, I think they called it, and actually playing on a Saturday with all the farmers and everything like that, and actually enjoying that as much because he was playing rugby for the right reasons again. And he was talking about a few things about the stigma that people put on professional athletes and forget that they're not people. And yes, they're proud of who they are, but they're proud of who they are for the people they are, not the perception that people have of them. So
yeah, definitely. And that's, obviously one of the things that we do, around that mentoring with individual athletes on their personal brand is that, your brand is you, and part of that process, we identify, the things that they're passionate about, the things they're interested in, and more importantly, their values. And it's like any sort of goal setting that, yes, you've got it up here, but until you get it down on paper, it doesn't mean a lot. Like when it's internalized, it means a lot to you. But when you put it out on paper and you go and you actually see yourself, and then by having that clarity around who they are, they can live by those values and explore totally opportunities that that align with their passions. And I think, that's important, not just for athletes, it's important for everybody. That I think, internally we have this perception of who we are, but if we stop, and it's always easier to I guess do it with somebody and talk to somebody to help take you through that. But it's that process of, I guess, still identifying who you are and looking at the things that are important to you, and looking at the things that, that the values that you want to live by, but the things that are of value to you in your life, and what you want to achieve. And I think that helps make that next step a little bit easier.
Definitely. And I like how you talked about getting it out from here and onto paper or talking with someone, because one of the big things that I give, especially younger guys, and like when I do a lot of my talkings, is that the key to using your mobile phone and actually getting, when you're having those not so good thoughts or those confusing thoughts that are going around, you don't know what's going on, and you don't quite feel comfortable enough to talk to someone else, use that voice recorder on your phone. Because what that does, it's real inside your mind, but it actually creates that sentence, that thought, and actually you realize that, hang on, this isn't quite as bad as you think. And by voicing that actual thought, you can actually deal with it a lot easier rather than going back in your head. So that's cool. But look, when we talked at the start about going on this journey together and sharing stories, I had a thought about what I wanted to bring up and have a chat with you, and like, this has been cool because it's gone a completely different way, but I want to bring it back a little bit. And I asked you a couple of words to describe like what we're going to name this episode, and you came up with the phrase "beyond the birdies." Now I had to think about me knowing you and what that meant, and I want to talk about when you and I first got together to do work on the Empower Golf stuff. Now, for me, I knew my motivations, using the power of sport, using the power of golf, giving that opportunity back to people that may have lost it or may have never had it, that are living with a disability of some sort. And it just grew into, an avenue and a tool that just blew me away, and it probably blew you away as well. But
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, like maybe the perception beforehand, like what you got from it, like how's it changed you, like a little bit about that time.
Yeah, I guess, for me, I'm really passionate about inclusion and inclusivity, using sport as a vehicle for that, within the entire community. And then I guess as an offshoot to that is the mental health side and the benefits, the mental and physical health benefits that golf and bigger picture sport participation can provide to individuals. And so I guess it's a passion of mine that I hadn't really ever explored, and having the opportunity through you to do that, I guess just it added fuel to that passion to explore that a little bit more. And it made me open my eyes as a coach that, one, there's more than one way of coaching, and there's so many ways that we can get somebody to achieve that frustrating skill of hitting a little white ball some direction forward. But more importantly, how rewarding it was and what they got out of it as well. And it wasn't, it was beyond the skill. It was beyond teaching the skill, and it was more about making a difference in the life of the people that I, through you, had the opportunity to impact. And I think that was the turning point for me. If I was going to pinpoint, and because I talk about it in some of my keynotes and stuff as well, the turning point for me was when we had Clint there in the Paragolfer, and he stood. We propped him upright, and his family and his partner were there, and that was the first time that he'd been upright since his accident. And that, like, it's in fact, I spoke about this in a workshop that I delivered probably 3 weeks ago, and I had the whole room in tears because, and it still gets me, just to have that impact, not only on Clint, but his whole family, is huge. Is huge.
Yep. And just
puts
running
everything
over saying my 6 foot man's back, and hearing things like that was just phenomenal.
And it puts everything into perspective. Everything that I've ever worked towards, or my thoughts and my beliefs around golf and life, that just put everything into perspective for me. And I guess on a side note, I don't know why so many guys, other golf pros, don't get involved in the All Abilities program and get in behind Power Golf, because one, it opens up your mind, but it's so rewarding, and that opportunity to give back. Everyone should be doing it.
Cool. I won't get too far down that one, but like a story to really reiterate that is, we're at Wembley one day having a clinic, and there was probably 10 people there, like wide range of disabilities, from Down syndrome, autism, there was paraplegic, there's amputees, like the whole spectrum. Great clinic going on, plenty of noise, everyone loving it. And then this racket just started kicking off, and I went for a walk around the corner, and there was this gentleman there, and he was pulling clubs out of his bag, snapping them over his knee and throwing them in the rubbish, and the biggest hissy fit that I've ever had. And I didn't yell at him, I didn't say anything, and I just said, mate, just come and have a look at this. And I dragged him around the corner, and the tears started flowing with him. Like, he was pretty emotional already to be snapping his golf clubs. And now we realise that, hang on, I'm being a dick and it's going to cost me a lot of money to fix these. But yeah, I let them come along and actually have a watch, and hearing that, and yeah, so just opening up and going, yeah, you know what, there are other things going on here, and that perception of this is the worst thing in the world that could happen is again within yourself, and there are ways around it. When people are going through those tough times, whether it be on the golf course for shooting 100, or yeah, when things happen in life that we can't change because they've already happened, they're done. Like you can't hit the reset button per se, but yeah, you can look at those ways to move forward and be proud of who you are. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think, one more story that I think is relevant around this, and golf being one of those vehicles for helping people
yeah,
deal with just the other stuff that they've got going on in life. I had a lady come and see me for some golf lessons. It's going back a couple of years now, and it took me about 3 lessons to kind of really kind of get inside what was going on, and she ended up breaking down on the lesson tee and said, like, I lost my, I think it was a 6-year-old daughter or 5-year-old daughter a few weeks back, and she had all the family and the friends around the house, and while she appreciated that, she just didn't have time to herself, so she chose to come and get some golf lessons, and for it was about 2 or 3 months that I would see her once a week, and that was her outlet, was to
yeah,
come and hit some golf balls, but also talk to me, and that meant a lot, that she felt she could open up and share that with me,
yeah,
and that I played a part in her in her coping strategies and her
yeah,
working
yeah.
through that grief, and
Yeah, that's
so it's,
awesome.
I'd say, like, as a golf coach, we're more than just somebody that teaches you how to swing a golf club. I think we almost wear a psychologist hat to a certain degree as well, and but and we do, like, we do care about the people that we work with,
Oh, by
and
all means.
care about what's going on in their life, and to build that relationship to a point where they feel they can trust you enough to open up and share that with you.
Yeah,
uh, it, it comes back to, like we were saying with Clint, like, it's a whole it gives a whole new meaning to your job, and to how you actually help people and have an impact on other people's lives.
yeah, for sure. And you know what? Like this, I've been sort of funneling this the whole way towards like what we're talking about, and like you've gone from being a 16-year-old that's now seen as like the father figure in there, and still being able to chase your dreams around golf, and it's just morphed into something even bigger now, and so you've mentioned brand builders a little bit already. For people who haven't heard of brand builders, like what's this new venture?
Yeah, so the brand builders, we've been around for about 6 years now. So Vicky Saunders, who's the founder, it started out
Hey,
as the
Vicky.
sponsorship consultants. Yeah, and we got to a point. So she brought on Charlotte Woods as
Hey,
well into the
Charlotte.
team, and and we got to the point where we realised that sponsorship was I guess an outcome of personal brand, and then we had the brand builders and sponsorship consultants, and then rolled it all into one. So that's sort of the quick background
Yep, good mate.
history of who we
Elevator
are.
pitch. Yep, that's it.
So for what we do, we work with sports organisations, individual athletes, local, state, federal government, and also corporates
Yep,
on essentially personal brand development with different outcomes, whether that's for better brand alignment or brand awareness. If it's for sponsorship, it might be for career opportunities. So, because like we sort of spoke about before, having your brand and that belief and living by your own personal brand. And like I say, you don't need to be an athlete. We're doing work in the corporate space with teams, corporate
yep,
teams working on their own personal brand and having that aligned to the business brand, or the brand of the organization.
yeah, yeah,
And so I guess from a one-on-one perspective, especially with the athletes, we're working with athletes on identifying that and then taking them through the process of learning how to communicate and leverage that for whatever pathway they want. So it's kind of pathway education. We don't match make. We don't find sponsorship or represent anyone. Everything we do is all about education. And look, I guess, the rewarding part of that is, which aligns well with my brand, is seeing other athletes and other sports organizations and businesses achieve greater success or achieve their goals through the work that we've done and sort of helped guide them through that process.
Yeah, cool. And you know what?
It's good fun. It's really, really good fun. And
definitely good fun.
Yeah, it's definitely opened up my eyes too.
Yeah, well, definitely. Like, it's like that sort of stuff is that, but behind closed doors, things that not many people will be privy to. But then also, it's a lot of sports people these days, because people are getting younger and younger, and it's all about being bigger, stronger, faster, better, whatever it may be. Like, there's an essential part of that self-discovery journey, and that hashtag proud to be you, and just building that own personal brand that you can, look yourself in the mirror and be proud of who you are, I'm guessing. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that from putting athletes aside and looking at just everyday, well, not every day, because everyday people are the same as athletes. Like I said, there's no difference between the two of us. Just some of us are good at sport. I think everybody can benefit from, I guess, building a personal brand per se, but knowing, I guess, identifying the values and knowing the things that you're passionate about, so that the way you do behave and the way you do present yourself, you're staying true to yourself, and you know that your actions and everything that you say and everything that you do is aligned to what you want to represent and how you want to be seen as an individual.
You can create the integrity by just being you, and you're doing that because you know what's integral and you know what your values are. And you know what, that sort of covers off like what I was going to say, like what's your big tip on being proud to be you. But you've summed it up there. But as a lead-in, Glenn Paul's tip for being proud to be you is
identify the things that you are most passionate about, the things that you believe in, your internal values, your personal values, and know how you want to be seen and how you want others to see you. And I think by identifying that, you will have greater belief in yourself and the way that you behave and the way you move forward through life.
I like it. Very well done. Luckily, I wasn't taking notes in, because I don't think I could have kept up, but that was wicked, mate. Look, I reckon we might leave it there, because this has been, I knew it was going to be good. I knew the chat was going to be good, but this went down a whole new tangent for where I thought. So, you know what, mate, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your story.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to, mate.
No, mate, not a problem at all. If people do want to find out more about brand builders as well, I'm sure I can share that information for any athletes or corporates or anything that want to get involved, by all means. And you know what?
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to do a few more episodes of these and have a chat with people. But you know what, Glenn Paul, thanks for sharing your story, mate. It definitely is a lot more beyond the birdies. And mate, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tom, mate. Again, appreciate you creating this this initiative and really following through with it, and giving everybody else I guess a platform to share our stories. It's I really appreciate it, mate, and have enjoyed sharing some of mine.
Good stuff.